What is a pre-listing inspection? You'll want to stick around and watch.
This is Kasama Lee, your community realtor.
By the end of this video, you're gonna learn 3 very important reasons why pre-listing inspections can really save your transaction. If you find this type of content valuable, you want to hit subscribe and the bell notification so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for sharing, commenting, and liking the channel so that we could continue to get great content like this out to more families. Reason number 1. So what is a pre-listing inspection? Well, the word pre-listing means the inspections that are done and conducted prior to the house coming on the real estate market, which is what we call endearingly the listing, okay? All the inspections are done before we actually put it on live. So there are 3 types of inspections that I typically would recommend to clients, whether I represent the buyer or the seller, that really tells a story and the condition of the property. First one is the pest inspection, and the full name is pest and termite inspection. I know that sounds scary. Doesn't mean that there are termites eating up the wood in your home. It doesn't mean that there's pests running around, but that's what a pest and termite inspection is. Basically, a lot of times what they are looking for, or what they will find on the report, are the active leaks that may be happening. Sometimes it's a leak in the faucet, sometimes it's a leak from the water heater, sometimes it's a leak in some, when they go under the house and they see that there's water dripping down, that's an active leak, okay? The pest and termite inspection will catch those things as well. They will also look for if there's any water stain under the kitchen sink or the bathroom sink type thing. They look for dry rot, wood trims on the fascia boards or anywhere around the house. Maybe it's on the front part, on the siding, that type of thing. Those are the things that will show up in the pest and termite inspection report. Now, the cool part about the pest and termite inspection report is most companies will provide a bid page. So each item that they find, they will approximate the repair cost. So in other words, if you hire that inspection company, if they do the work too, that's how much it would cost for each item. So it gives a numeric value, a dollar value, so to speak, to the repair item. So when that report comes out, it's a clear picture of what the work might entail and what the cost might be. That's the one report that I would typically recommend to the buyer or the seller. There are 2 sections in the pest report. This is probably more information that you need to absorb right now, but I just want to kind of break it down for you real quick. Section 1 are the immediate items that should be addressed. The repair should be addressed. Section 2 are small stuff that could turn into a bigger problem if it doesn't get addressed. But it's not, usually those are not the negotiable, not the things that are gonna be the deal breakers, okay? For example, caulking missing around the bathtub, they would call that as a Section 2 item, okay? But when we work with the seller, we try to address all of those things so those things don't come up as a condition when they do the inspection. Second inspection is a whole house inspection. Whole house inspection it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours. Basically, the inspector goes through the whole house. So if there's an attic, the inspector will climb up into the attic. If there's a crawl space for older homes, the inspector will put on his, I call him the astronaut suit. They will crawl underneath the house and look underneath, to really see what the condition of the lower tier of the house is. They will run the appliances, they will check electrical, plumbing, so on and so forth. So it's a more thorough overall condition of the house. There's usually no bid page for that because there's a big report, but there's usually a summary of the things that need attention, and there's some things that are just it ages with the house, so it's not necessarily that it needs to be repaired, it's just something that they point out, okay? So whole house inspection report is great. Third report is a roof inspection report. I only recommend this if the house is more than 20 years, because for shingle roof homes, the shelf life is about 25 years. For tile roof homes, they can go up to 50 years in shelf life, but during those years, they could be, the shingles could go missing, it could slide off, the tiles could be slipping, the trim around the roof could be, coming off, especially if there's a chimney. Sometimes there's some findings there. So a roof inspection is also invaluable. So those are the 3 inspection reports that I typically would recommend to any client that we serve. The buyers customarily would pay for those inspections because that's their right to do the due diligence, right? Once they're in escrow. When you have a pre-listing inspection, this is where the power is. The 3 benefits that you have when you do the pre-inspection, which means typically the seller would pay for those inspections. The first one is that you now know, the seller, you know what might need to be addressed. Most sellers, I want to say 90% of our clients who are sellers, in their good conscience, they just want to sell a good home. And if there's some things that they can fix beforehand, they want to fix it. A lot of times we don't even have to recommendation. Once they see the report, they're like, we're going to address this, we're going to address this. Sometimes it's loose toilet, and that's usually a Section 2 item. They will address those things. So now you have the reports. By the way, those reports now become disclosures to the property, just like when the seller fills out the disclosures, these reports are now part of the disclosures because these are material facts that have been found. So the prospective buyer would be reviewing these reports, and if some things got fixed by the seller, we would notate that so that the buyer's like, whew, all right, I don't have to ask for it. The seller's already fixing it. The first thing is clarity, transparency, right? The buyer now knows what they're buying. The seller now knows what they can address. The second benefit to that is it smooths out the negotiation because now the buyer feels like, okay, the seller's already taking care of a lot of these things. And you don't have a buyer that's going to come into the transaction, conduct the inspections, and somehow are startled by what they find and not prepare for it. And sometimes buyer backs out because of that. Nobody wants to go into an escrow thinking that they're going to back out. Okay, so that's important. Third benefit to this is that you will have a much more smooth flowing inspection. The big part of this whole each and every transaction is the anxiety level. The seller not knowing, being surprised by things, the buyer not knowing what they're gonna discover during inspections and being surprised by it. And when you have good agents, this is an important part too. When you have good, competent, experienced agents on both sides, the agents can help manage the expectations. We do that all the time, whether we represent seller or buyer, so they know what they're going into and not surprised by each time something comes up. That's where the agents negotiate and smooth out the process. It sounds easy, but trust me, it's not. It's something that I do every day, and I know that it can get pretty dicey. And I remember I've had to ask my client to just sleep on it overnight and think about what you really want to do moving forward. I mean, no buyer comes into a transaction, puts an offer in, gets accepted, and plan to back out. But these inspection reports can really make a world of difference if the seller decides to do it. And we typically will recommend for at least 1 or all 3 of the reports to be done. I hope this is helpful. If you need any clarification, feel free to email me at kasama@kasamasales.com. Thanks for watching.